Etsy SEO is confusing, am I right? And now that we're all preparing for the busy holiday season, you probably have more questions than ever. Should you be adding holiday keywords to your tags and titles? Will touching your SEO right now ruin your chances of ranking before the holidays? And what do you do with holiday listings after the holiday passes? Will removing them hurt your quality scores? Today, I'm interrogating Anthony Wolf, CEO of eRank.com, in order to extract answers to your burning Etsy SEO questions. For those who are new here, my name is Starla Moore, founder of the Handmade Alpha Academy for Etsy sellers and manager at eRank.com, Etsy's most popular SEO tool. And today I've kidnapped eRank CEO so we can get down to the bottom of your biggest Etsy SEO holiday questions. Okay, so what is the scoop on holiday tags and titles? There's all these Etsy gurus that tell you to change out your keywords for the holidays and to change out all your tags and to change out your titles and incorporate in holiday related tags and titles on Etsy. What is your advice that you would give to these sellers?
Well, Starla, my advice to sellers would be to use tags that match what people are looking for at this time of the year or coming up in the next few months. So if you are selling Christmas gifts, you want to be looking at who the recipients are, what sort of style they are, things like that. So try and match the time of year.
Awesome. And then another common thing that I keep seeing popping up in the Etsy community is everybody saying to not touch your tags and your titles at all in October and November because it's going to reset your listing and then it's going to take 60 to 90 days before you're even going to show up in search and you're not going to be indexed. I know that's silly. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
That sounds like a lot of speculation there, to be brutally honest. I would really encourage people to conduct experiments. Don't go and experiment on every single one of your listings, but certainly try out and see. It's not necessarily 60 days. I've seen cases where you change out a word and you are ranking within a few minutes. You may not be ranking well, but you are ranking. It also depends on the combination. So if you're changing out tags, remember to not remove those keywords that you know are always working for you. So just be really careful.
And how might a seller know what keywords are working for them, as well as how to check their rank? Because that's always a question that I get, especially when people try to find their rank organically by searching for, keywords associated with their listing in Etsy. Yeah. So that's a double question.
So I'll try and help with the first part firstly. So to figure out what keywords are working for you, you can pop into your Etsy seller dashboard and go into the search analytics section and see those keywords that are bringing you traffic. Also, if you have Google Analytics installed, you can get it through there. Or if you've got Google Analytics installed, you can connect your Google Analytics account to eRank and we'll do that for you. So you get nice, simple reports. So you can see what words were driving you traffic, even like within the last hour. So that's what I would do for trying to figure out what words are working for your listings, what the good words are. What was the second part of the question again?
Second part would be how can they check their search rankings? Since a lot of sellers, they go into Etsy, they go to the search bar, they type in the keywords that they want to be known for, and then they see themselves on, page 3, and they assume that that's their rank.
Yeah, ranking is a very tough thing to measure now for everyone. The reason is all the personalization and localization that goes on Etsy. They do all this because they want to look at the person that's on the site and go, right, does this person have some sort of preference, or are they likely to want something from this shop or that shop? So they're trying to guess, not just based on the keywords, but based on your behavior. If you want to get an idea of how your listings are ranking without that personalization in there and the localization, you should use the rank checker that we've got on eRank. That will give you the results sorted by relevancy as Etsy sees it. Now, they're not going to match the what you see on Etsy for the reasons I just said, the whole personalization that goes on there. Think of it loosely like what the average user would see. So it's basically unbiased results that haven't been filtered or sorted based on your location or your browsing history.
Awesome. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and put a link down below and up here to a video where I talk a little bit about ranking and how I kind of describe rank on Etsy now. I call what you see in eRank, I call it the naked rank. So it's the rank that's stripped of all personalization. And if you guys like seeing things broken down with fun little cartoons and put into, normal, not computer people speak, that might be a good video for you, because I know sometimes it's the big terminology that gets people frightened, when in reality it's pretty basic stuff. It's just a lot of information overload, especially for newbies who are just getting into Etsy SEO. So Anthony, the last question that I wanted to ask you is, we always have sellers who ask me over the holidays, they'll have a couple, Christmas themed bestsellers or ornaments or Christmas t-shirts, very holiday specific items that sell very, very well. But they worry that after the holidays, that if they delete these items or deactivate these items for the season, that it's going to have some effect on their shop or their search placement or their overall customer and market experience score. They're worried that, that leaving them in their shop because those listings are no longer going to get the same activity, that could harm their shop. So they feel like they're kind of stuck between, do I deactivate them and risk not getting that traffic, or do I leave them in my shop and them not get any traffic and it make my whole shop look bad? Do you have any words of wisdom for sellers who are stressing about this?
Yeah, look, it's a great one, and it's, again, a little on the subjective side. So one person's going to say to you, remove them all. You don't want them to harm your shop. I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory. Really, what you've got to remind yourself about is those sales were often generated by the time of year, by the type of keywords people were looking for at that time of year. So I see it as, you've got a couple of options. If that gift can be repurposed for Valentine's Day or Mother's Day and so forth, consider adding new tags in there related to those occasions, or the recipient that you have in mind, or the possible buyer would have in mind. I think if you were to deactivate that listing, well, that's fine. Obviously, it's not going to sell. But when it comes to, say, this time next year, going to be hoping that there is some remnant history that Etsy is going to be aware of, and hopefully get some sort of boost there. Again, I'm getting into that area where I'm speculating now. I think that the key thing here is, if you've got a listing that's good for multiple times throughout the year, then you want to use keywords that are likely to be searched for by buyers at that time of year. If you want to chop and change your tags throughout the year accordingly, that's great. If you want to start a new listing and experiment that way, that's probably not a bad idea either. Maybe a little bit less risky.
Awesome. And on a final note, we always have a lot of sellers who come to me and they say, well, this YouTuber told me that I need to change all of my tags and titles to holiday keywords, or this Etsy YouTuber told me, yada, yada, yada. And one thing that I want to really stress is that we're talking right now to Anthony Wolf, who is somebody who knows Etsy SEO to in extreme extent. It is his entire life. And I think that one of the big issues is that everybody wants to have a solid answer. Everybody wants to be told, yes, this is exactly how it works. But unfortunately, when it comes to Etsy SEO, and I would venture to say any SEO, right? You don't really have black and white and absolutes. Any words of wisdom to those sellers who just kind of are hanging on the words of, this occasionally sketchy material that just floats around the internet, these absolutes that people tend to preach?
So, don't. That's the short. I can't emphasize this enough. Read the Etsy Ultimate Guide to Search. You really need to look at that and check on that regularly, because they do change it from time to time. Really look at what Etsy tell you and treat that as the best source of information about Etsy SEO. That really is my best advice there.
Being hyper aware of what you're hearing on the internet, especially when it comes to YouTubers, Etsy forums. I know that TikTok, we're seeing a lot of Etsy TikTokers out there, and they speak with a lot of conviction. Therefore, they seem like they're authorities on the subject, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are.
You got to look at your spidey sense, and if things don't quite jive, and get a second opinion. But or a third opinion, but really try and get it directly from Etsy. That's the best source for information. That's what we do at eRank. If we're going to offer a suggestion or a tip on the site, we have to make sure that it is backed by something from Etsy. Not something in the forums, but something directly from an Etsy employee or an official announcement or document from Etsy. That's what we do, and that's what I recommend to everyone.
Fantastic. And guys, I'll have a link for eRank both up here in the corner and down below where you can check out a little bit more. All right, great advice. And guys, if you want to get live holiday help from Anthony Wolf, as well as from Mark and myself, be sure to check out the link up here and down below for our first ever Alpha Holiday Bootcamp. This 7-day bootcamp is for the product-based businesses who want to save time, stress less, and follow a simple early prep plan that will help you to coast through your October, November, and early December marketing. Unlike most other holiday boot camps, this isn't a fluff-filled program that draws on and on with no actual guidance. The daily videos are short, focused, and they'll tell you exactly what to do each day. Then you're given simple marketing tasks to complete with the help of hundreds of marketing templates, graphics, and prompts that I personally created for you. On day 7 of the bootcamp, you'll be able to join Anthony Wolf, my husband Mark, and myself for a live coaching call where you can ask last-minute questions as you finalize your holiday marketing prep. You only have until September 22nd to enroll, so be sure to click the link below to see all of the details and to get on the early registration list. Overall, success on Etsy often means ignoring some of the shady advice that you hear online and turning to the top experts in the industry in order to avoid common myths and pitfalls. And with a little science, a lot of data, and some help from a trusted Etsy expert, you'll be well on your way to Etsy success. Cue the funky lo-fi beat.